The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Jennifer Schaus coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and we are wrapping up week 9 of 10 in our government contracting webinar series. Thanks for joining us today as we discuss the SBA 8A certification and qualification checklist. The full list of all of our webinars can be found on our website, and the recordings are typically listed there same day under the schedule, and they are segmented by topic. A little bit about us. We're based in downtown DC and provide various services for contractors, both product and service companies. We help them with anything from capability statements, market analysis reports, 8A certification, GSA schedules, compliance issues, and more. We do host various networking events and seminars throughout the year. We've just added a couple new networking events and book signings and conferences. You can find those on our website under the event section, or an easier method to stay abreast of everything is to sign up for our newsletter, which is usually sent out on Monday mornings. My background is listed on this slide. I'll let you read through that. But more importantly, I'd rather dig into our topic, which is the SBA 8A qualifications. And this is just kind of a checklist to let you know if your business and you as an individual would qualify for this certification. So let's just first briefly talk about the 8A program and what it is. It is a set-aside program for small businesses only, and those businesses need to be both socially and economically disadvantaged. It is a 9-year program. Years 1 through 4 are typically kind of your business development phase, and years 5 through 9 they consider the transition phase, meaning that during that period you are looking for other 8As that are entering the program that you can then reach back to once you have graduated at the end of year 9. Because during year 1 through 4 you probably have secured some 8A set-aside contracts, built some relationships within the government, found out which agencies prefer and use the 8A program well. So during that transition phase, you're looking for partners, younger companies entering the program. What you don't want to do during those last couple of years is start figuring out how to use the program. It should be something that you know kind of before you enter. So one important piece here is that the 8A program is kind of a once and done. So it is tied to the business owner. And so let's say you start a business and you become 8A certified and your business is in the construction industry. At the end of year 9, you graduate, and a couple years later you start a business, something completely different, and let's say you start an IT firm and you decide, hey, I'm going to apply for the 8A program again. Well, you will be rejected because it doesn't matter that you have a business that's completely different. Once you have been in the 8A program, it's tied to the owner, you're not going to be able to reapply again for the program. Even again, if it's a different industry, different company name, if you're headquartered in Maryland for your first business and then headquartered in California for the second, doesn't matter. So make sure that you take that seriously and that you pull the trigger at the right time for the program. Some advantages when you are an 8A, there's going to be a decent amount of contracts that are set aside just for 8As. And there are also sole source contracts dedicated to the 8A program, up to $4 million for services and goods, and then 6.5 for those that are in manufacturing industry. There's some advantages to the JVs, teaming, and then the mentor-protege, which you probably want to look at, which has gone through some changes, and there's kind of the all-small mentor-protege program. We do have other webinars on our website that will go through joint ventures, teaming, mentor-protege, and they'll touch on the advantages of 8A businesses within each of those relationships. We're also discussing 8A sole source contracts next week on Friday, which will give you more of the details and advantages and kind of how to win those sole source contracts. So how to qualify? First of all, your business must be a small business. And how do you determine if you're a small business? Well, it's based on your NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Classification System, and it's just a number that identifies what your primary product or service is. And the size standards will vary based on what your industry is. So for construction industry, the threshold is going to be different than if if you're an IT company. You can find all of those size standards on the SBA.gov website. So again, Small Business Administration, SBA.gov. And then again, will vary by your NAICS code. The second piece is control and ownership. So the individual that owns the company or has 51% or more of the control must be a U.S. citizen, whether it's by birth or naturalization. They also need to be involved. They can't just be the 51% or more owner on paper. They also need to be involved in the operations, making the decisions within the company. So be sure that you're not just kind of putting a figurehead in there that meets all the requirements. That person needs to know the business and be involved. The third piece is the social and economic. So it's not one or the other. You're going to need to have all three of these pieces in place. So the individual must be both socially and economically disadvantaged. Well, how does SBA define those? Socially, you need to fall into one of these ethnic groups. And then economically, there's a little bit more of a litmus test here. You'll need to provide a narrative on why you are economically disadvantaged. And then personal financial information will also be included. In the event that you are married, if you're trying to, let's say, play some funny games where you want to move some of your equity and cash into your spouse's account so that SBA won't see these, you're actually going to have to disclose your marital partner's financial information as well. And then it's going to get a little bit more detailed. They will look at your income for the last 3 years, your assets, your retirement accounts, any transfers that you've made to family members, and then other information that's listed here on this slide. So anything that's financial related to you personally as well as your business will come under scrutiny. And then they have the 3 threshold tests here. So your assets cannot exceed the $4 million. Your income, and this is a 3-year average, cannot exceed $250K, and the same thing for the net worth. So again, keep in mind that you need to meet all 3 of those thresholds. The other piece here that is also very important and can cause rejection in your application to SBA, your principals or the principal owner must demonstrate good character. You've got to have a business plan that's going to show how you're going to use this 8A certification. So that should probably be something that you do even before you decide to pursue the 8A, is making sure that the agencies that you're selling to are awarding contracts to 8A businesses. And you can look at the SBA scorecard to strategically map out a business plan on how you're going to use that 8A certification. And there's other resources you can use as well, including FPDS and FedBizOps. You also cannot have more than 70% of your business reliant on one client, whether that's a commercial or government client, doesn't matter. You have to make sure that you have diversification in your customer base and in your business development plan. And again, as I mentioned before, you cannot have ever been an SBA firm in the 8A firm in the past. So again, that's going to be a once and done. So here are the forms that you're going to need. And this is a pretty lengthy list. So if you are going to download the application, you want to make sure that you have complete information on all of these forms. If you're missing any one, that's going to cause delay or perhaps rejection in your application. So, and do not leave any information out. Again, it will only delay the process and cause problems in your application. So you want your federal tax returns for the last 3 years, both company and personal, as well as your financial statements. That's going to be your balance sheet and income statement. If they're audited, that certainly helps. All of your company contracts, again, they're going to be looking at this to make sure that your company has the potential for success and that no more than one entity has 70% of the revenue for your company, or is responsible for 70% of that. Your lease agreement, so looking at where your office is based, who you're paying, and how much you are paying. Your bank account information is also obviously important. And then the ownership of the company, making sure that that individual owner does have 51% or more of the equity. The state filings, so if you're an LLC or incorporated or whatever, however your business has legally been structured, they'll need to see the state filings. You should have been in business for 2 years. There's certainly always exceptions to any rules, but my rule is that we like to work with companies that meet, but preferably exceed all of the requirements to ensure a smooth process. All of your bylaws and minutes should be included as well. And the narrative on the social and economic disadvantage will need to be included. The background on the principles, again, kind of tying that back to the social and economic disadvantage. And then all principals, you will need their financial information as well. Occasionally, SBA does make updates to the process and the required forms, so do not treat this as a comprehensive list. You want to make sure that if you have anything that maybe doesn't meet all of the requirements, that if there's other forms that you need to submit in place of the requirements, that you do have those, any exceptions. Your next steps, once you've got all of your documentation, make sure that the requirements have not been updated or changed in any way. I'd suggest having somebody review your package or work with you to put that package together, and we can certainly help. You can download and submit the application on the SBA website. I've listed the link there. And again, that covers the SBA 8A qualification checklist. If you have any questions, please contact us directly by phone or email. We do have other webinars on our site about the 8A application process, which includes avoiding the pitfalls. Next week, as I mentioned, we are covering the 8A set aside and how sole source contracts can be won. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. Questions can be directed to us directly, and hope you'll join us again next week. Thank you.